Hola amigos, I am Rodolfo Ramos, Bradesco BBI's Mexico strategist, and welcome to It's What's What in Mexico, our bi-weekly video product to give you our latest views. So in this edition, we have so much ground to cover, but I'll be limiting myself to 3 topics as we normally do. First, of course, we're going to be talking about the historic Mexico-US agreement that we had from last week. Secondly, we're going to be covering a topic that has been flying a little bit under investors' radars on energy policies. And thirdly, we're going to give you a little bit of color on the things that we're looking out for in the very short term. So kicking off with this historic Mexico-US agreement, we would first like to highlight the cool, level-headed way that Claudia Sheinbaum handled this situation, not reacting to these provocations of statements across the tape that were thrown. This was interesting because this was something that even leadership in other countries were taking note and even trying to replicate as to how to deal with the Trump administration. We saw within Mexico this unifying effect within people from Morena that might have different interests, even people from the opposition, really acknowledging this win for the Claudia Sheinbaum and for Mexico out of these negotiations. So this was very important. We should also not forget to mention that the statement that formal statement that the U.S. put out on Saturday, alleging that Mexico was in an intolerable alliance with the cartel organizations, it's something that we should always that we should keep in mind. So this is likely going to continue driving these negotiations. We have seen an unwavering commitment from the Mexico side to cooperate on these issues. We recently saw this U.S. military aircraft flying awfully close to the coast of Sinaloa, where we've witnessed high levels of violence. We saw a U.S. warship off the coast of Baja California. So it really seems that we are having a much closer collaboration. But this is something that is worth taking note of, and is likely going to be there in the background as these negotiations unfold. No, but certainly this was a very good news for us that we and supports also this view that we have that once we get past this initial volatility in the short term, we will likely see a much stronger U.S.-Mexico bilateral relationship. So moving on here to the second point on energy policies, recently Claudia Sheinbaum's team submitted to Congress the secondary legislation in energy. These are 1,000 pages worth of documents, so we're still perusing them, but the initial reaction is very positive, and we do believe that there is now a space for the private sector to participate in Mexico's energy sector, something that we had not seen during the AMLO administration. We are very excited to see what companies do on the industrial space, now having the flexibility to go all the way up to 20 megawatts with generation, with self-consumption generation, with clearer rules. Of course, this is going to be a more gradual process as companies get more familiar with the regulators and these new rules, but this is certainly a positive step in the right direction. And this is something that we've highlighted before. The policies that we have seen so far from the Sheinbaum administration are significantly more pro-nearshoring than the ones that we saw in the previous administration. So this is also why we continue to like this nearshoring theme when it comes to investments, especially once these clouds in the short term are removed regarding this integration with the U.S. We believe that when we're looking back 5 years from now, probably the market share that Mexico has of the U.S. import market is probably going to grow, not only relative, but also in nominal terms. So this is something that has also guided our investment recommendation to institutional investors. The third point here to close, and some of the things that you should be looking out for going forward. Of course, the first thing that comes to mind is this reprieve, because at the end of the day, this agreement it's a reprieve for this 25% tariffs for a month. So we will probably be back where we were over the weekend in regards to tariffs. We do see this first initial agreement that sets the stage, lowers the stakes for this for March 1st, which is when this reprieve ends. But nonetheless, statements from here up until then are going to be critical. Now we know, of course, that Secretary of State Marco Rubio will be leading these discussions, and it'll be important to monitor all these statements and how these negotiations and these talks are evolving. No? So this is the first thing that we are going to be very closely monitoring. Secondly is April 1st, when we're going to start hearing about this review of America First trade policy that the U.S. administration will be carrying out. We don't expect Mexico to find itself in the thick of it, but nonetheless, there could be statements affecting Mexico, especially now that we're starting to talk about a USMCA review. We are of the idea that actually having an anticipated USMCA review is actually great news for Mexico, because it reduces the overhang for investments, it allows for longer term planning, and you're not going to be here left out with this uncertainty for over a year going forward. So this would increase certainty for Mexico and give more chance for companies to plan going forward. So this would be something that we'll see very positive. And we're going to be clearly getting more news on this in April. The second thing that we will be getting more news again in April is going to be a key month for Mexico, is we're going to be getting the pre-criteria from the Ministry of Finance that will be used, all these assumptions that will be used to construct the 2026 budget. I think that this could give us a little bit of sense of how they're looking at things from the macro side, but also how likely it is that we will see a tax reform going forward. This is going to be the next big discussion in Mexico. So this document will be submitted no later than April 1st. Also in April, and lastly, we're going to be seeing this banking convention in Mexico. And typically the president goes to this convention and makes a statement, and we expect some clarity as to how the government, how Sheinbaum's government is going to leverage the Mexico's financial sector for the development of Mexico. So this might give us some clues as to how they're going to tackle this under-penetration on the Mexican market side. There has been a lot of concerns from the financial sector regarding taxation, regarding regulation. So we might start to get a little bit of detail as to what is the approach that this administration is going to have towards this very important sector for Mexico's economy and investors. So these are the main things that we're looking out for. Again, we continue to have a very constructive view on Mexico heading into these negotiations. We believe that this Mexico-U.S. relationship is likely going to be emerging out of this episode much stronger, similarly as it did in the first Trump administration. So there's a lot to be excited about. Follow us on our channel. We'll have links to all of our reports, so you can take a look at our different equity ideas. But in the meantime, we'll keep you posted, and have a great week, everybody. Ciao, ciao, amigos.